Raven Blackwood had always preferred the company of quantum engines to people. The harmonic hum of antimatter containment fields spoke a language he understood far better than human small talk. Here, in the depths of Outpost Sigma 9's engineering bay, he could lose himself in the elegant dance of particles and probability. "Come on, you stubborn thing," he muttered, carefully adjusting the phase alignment of a damaged quantum core. The device pulsed with soft blue light, its crystalline structure catching the dim illumination of the maintenance bay. His dark eyes narrowed in concentration behind protective goggles as he made microscopic adjustments with specialized tools. The station's warning klaxon shattered his focus. Red emergency lights began strobing across the walls. "Unscheduled arrival detected," the station's AI announced in its maddeningly calm voice. "Unknown vessel approaching, class diplomatic, origin Luminaran Empire." Raven's tools clattered to the floor. The Luminarans, here. The crystalline species rarely ventured this far into human space, preferring to remain within their own territory closer to the galactic core. Their ships were living crystal constructs, beautiful and terrible to behold. "Security protocols engaged," the AI continued. "All non-essential personnel report to quarters immediately." But Raven stayed rooted in place, staring at the quantum core. Something about its crystalline structure suddenly seemed familiar in a way he couldn't explain. The blue light pulsed in time with his heartbeat. The maintenance bay doors hissed open. Raven spun around, expecting to see security officers. Instead, his jaw dropped. A tall figure stood in the doorway, her body seeming to be carved from living crystal and light. Luminaran royalty, if the intricate patterns flowing through her translucent form were any indication. Two crystalline guards flanked her, their faceted forms far more militant in design. "The resonance is stronger here," the Luminaran royal said, her voice like wind through crystal chimes. "You engineer your quantum signature." She stepped closer, and Raven found himself backing away until he hit the workbench. The quantum core's pulse quickened behind him. "I am Princess Nyx Vera of the Luminaran Empire," she announced, "and you carry my sister's pattern." Raven blinked, eyes what's? "Your neural architecture." Nyx Vera's crystalline form shimmed with excitement. "It matches the quantum signature of my sister, Princess Stella Vera, who was lost in the Obsidian War. You are her reincarnation." "That's impossible," Raven protested. "I'm human, I was born on Earth. I have parents, a childhood, I fix quantum engines for a living." "The universe works in mysterious ways," Nyx Vera said. "Our species has long known that consciousness exists as quantum information, capable of transferring between suitable vessels. My sister's pattern was lost when her crystal form was shattered, but now—" She reached out with a crystalline hand, touching Raven's temple. A spark of energy made him gasp. "The resonance is undeniable," she continued. "You must return with me to the crystal courts. Our people need their princess restored." "I'm not your sister," Raven stumbled back, knocking tools off the workbench. "I'm just a mechanic. I don't know anything about being a princess or running an empire. There has to be some mistake." But even as he protested, something deep in his mind stirred, like recalling a dream you never knew you had. The quantum core behind him hummed at a frequency that seemed to resonate with his very bones. "The pattern recognition is absolute," Nyx Vera insisted. "You have 72 hours to prepare yourself. Then you will return with us to undergo the crystalline awakening ceremony. It will fully restore my sister's consciousness within you. And if I refuse, then the more militant factions of our empire will take it as proof that humans deliberately stole and corrupted our royal consciousness patterns during the war. The peace between our peoples will shatter." Her crystalline form dimmed slightly. "Please, you are my sister whether you remember it yet or not. Don't let another war begin." Raven slumped against the workbench, head spinning. He looked down at his hands, calloused human hands that had spent years working with machines. Then he looked at the quantum core, its light seeming to call to something buried deep within his mind. "I'll need some time to think about this," he managed to say. "You have 72 hours, Nyx Vera repeated. "I'll have quarters prepared for you aboard my ship." She turned to leave, then paused. "And it's good to see you again, sister, even if you don't remember me yet." After she left, Raven sank to the floor, his back against the workbench. The quantum core continued its steady pulse behind him, like a second heartbeat he'd never noticed before. "Well," he said to the empty maintenance bay, "this is going to complicate my week." He pulled out his personal tablet, hopping to research anything he could find about Luminaran consciousness transfer. But his hands were shaking too badly to type. Instead, he found himself sketching patterns in the margins of his notes, crystalline structures he somehow knew by heart, though he'd never seen them before. The station's AI chimed in. Engineer Blackwood, Princess Nixvira has requested your medical records and quantum neural scan data. Deny that request, Raven said quickly. Then, after a moment's thought, but get me everything we have on Luminaran crystalline technology, and see if you can find any records of Princess Stella Vera from before the Obsidian War. Processing request, the AI replied. Would you like me to notify station security about your situation? Raven considered it, but what would he tell them? That an alien princess thought he was her reincarnated sister, that he was starting to wonder if she might be right. No, he said finally, just get me that data. I need to figure this out on my own. He stood up, straightening his workers' coveralls. Through the maintenance bay's viewport, he could see the Luminaran diplomatic vessel, a massive construct of living crystal that seemed to sing to something deep inside him. 72 hours to either prove he wasn't a reincarnated alien princess or accept a destiny he never knew was his. And somewhere in the back of his mind, crystal chimes were beginning to ring. The Luminaran royal palace was nothing like Raven had imagined. He'd expected cold, geometric crystal formations. Instead, he found himself in a living cathedral of light. Crystalline spires twisted like frozen music, their surfaces rippling with patterns that seemed to respond to his presence. The crystal courts remember you, Nixvira said softly, watching his awestruck expression, even if you don't remember them. Raven pulled his worn mechanic's jacket tighter around himself, feeling desperately out of place. He'd refused to change into the ceremonial garments they'd offered, clinging to his work clothes like armor against this surreal situation. I still think this is a mistake. But even as he protested, his fingers traced patterns in the air, unconsciously matching the flow of energy through the crystal walls. He caught himself and shoved his hands into his pockets. The High Council awaits, Nixvira announced, leading him toward a set of doors that seemed to be made of frozen starlight. They will verify your quantum signature and begin preparations for the awakening ceremony. The council chamber took Raven's breath away. 7 Luminaran elders sat in a semicircle, their crystalline forms more elaborate and ancient than any he'd seen. The room itself was a perfect resonance chamber, he realized, the architecture designed to amplify and measure quantum frequencies. Approach claimed vessel, the central elder commanded, their voice harmonizing with the chamber's natural frequency. Raven winced at being called a vessel but stepped forward. Scientific curiosity warred with his growing unease. I have questions before we begin. You are not here to ask questions, another elder cut in. You are here to be measured. No, Raven said firmly, surprising himself with his own conviction. I'm a quantum mechanic. If you're going to scan my neural architecture or whatever you call it, I want to understand the process. Show me the technical specifications. A ripple of discord passed through the council, but Nixvira's crystalline form brightened with what might have been pride. Perhaps we should indulge this request. After all, technical aptitude was one of my sister's defining traits. The central elder reluctantly gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the air. Raven's eyes widened as he took in the complex quantum equations and crystalline diagrams. This is incredible, he breathed. You're using quantum entanglement to measure consciousness patterns, the implications for information theory alone. He lost himself in the technical details, asking increasingly specific questions about quantum coherence and pattern matching. The council seemed taken aback by his understanding, while Nixvira watched with growing interest. Enough, the central elder finally declared. The measurement must begin. Crystal resonators descended from the ceiling, surrounding Raven in a complex geometric pattern. He forced himself to remain still, though every engineering instinct screamed to examine the technology more closely. The scan began with a high-pitched tone that seemed to vibrate through his very atoms. Raven gasped as strange memories flickered through his mind, the taste of crystalline fruit, the sensation of light flowing through a mineral body, the weight of a crown made of frozen stars. The patterns align, one elder announced, but they are fragmented, corrupted by the human vessel. Not corrupted, Nixvira argued. Transformed, evolution, not degradation. Regardless, the Central Elder declared, the awakening must proceed. We cannot risk losing the pattern again. Raven's head was spinning, filled with half-memories he couldn't trust. Wait, he managed. What exactly does this awakening involve? Your consciousness will be fully aligned with its original pattern, an elder explained. The human memories will be archived and replaced with. No, Raven stumbled back from the resonators. You're talking about erasing who I am. We're talking about restoring who you were, the elder corrected. I don't care who I was, Raven shouted. The crystal walls seemed to vibrate with his emotion. I'm a mechanic, I fix things, I help people, that's who I am now and I won't let you erase that. To everyone's shock, the crystal resonators shattered. Fragments of living crystal rained down around them as Raven stood, breathing heavily, his quantum signature suddenly blazing like a star. Impossible, an elder whispered. He shouldn't be able to affect our technology without proper training. Nyxvera stepped forward, placing herself between Raven and the council. Perhaps, she said carefully, we should consider that my sister's pattern has not just survived in this form but evolved into something new. Something that deserves to be understood rather than overwritten. The council chamber erupted in argument. Raven seized the opportunity to slip away, running through the crystalline corridors until he found a quiet maintenance alcove. He slumped against a wall, trying to steady his breathing. Need a moment alone. He jumped at Nyxvera's voice. She stood in the alcove entrance, her crystalline form dimmed to a gentle glow. How did you find me? You chose a maintenance area, she said, amusement in her tone. Some things don't change across lifetimes, it seems. Raven laughed despite himself. I don't know what to believe anymore. These memories in my heads, they feel real, but they're not mine, or they are mine but from another life. It's all quantum uncertainty. Perhaps, Nyxvera said softly. The question isn't whether you're my sister reborn, but who you choose to be now. Before Raven could respond, an alarm blared through the crystal corridors. The walls around them flashed with urgent patterns. What's happening? Nyxvera's form brightened with alarm. The Obsidian faction, they're making their move. They've waited centuries for a moment of weakness like this. She turned to Raven. The pattern recognition protocols just went offline. Someone's trying to seize control of the crystal quartz. Raven straightened up, tool belt jingling. Well, he said, a familiar half-smile crossing his face, fixing things is what I do best. Whether I'm a reincarnated princess or not, want to show me to your quantum core. Nyxvera's crystalline form sparkled with what might have been hope. Follow me, engineer. Let's see what you can do with a royal education and a mechanic's hands. The central power core of the crystal quartz hummed with barely contained quantum energy. Raven had never seen anything like it. A massive crystalline structure that seemed to breathe light. Its surfaces etched with impossibly complex circuitry that made his best repair work look like child's play. The Obsidian faction has locked us out of the main control interface, Nyxvera explained, her crystalline form pulsing with urgency. They're trying to rewrite the pattern recognition protocols to declare their leader the true heir to the throne. Raven was already pulling tools from his belt, examining the crystalline interfaces with a mechanic's eye and something else. Something that whispered in the back of his mind, telling him exactly where each circuit led. These quantum pathways, he muttered, they're like the engine cores I work with, just more alive. His fingers traced patterns in the air matching the flow of energy. If we can reset the main resonance frequency. Only those of royal blood can interface directly with the core, one of Nyxvera's guards protested. The quantum harmonics would overwhelm any other consciousness. Raven grinned. Good thing I might be a princess then, right? Before anyone could stop him, he pressed his palm against the central crystal matrix. Light exploded through his mind. For a moment, he was everywhere in the crystal quartz at once, feeling the pulse of quantum energy through every corridor, every chamber. Memories cascaded through his consciousness. Lessons in quantum harmonics, secret passages hidden in crystalline walls, the weight of responsibility that came with wearing a crown of light. The signal's stabilizing, Nyxvera called out, her voice seeming to come from very far away. He's actually doing it. Raven forced himself to focus through the overwhelming sensations. There, he could sense the foreign code the Obsidian faction was trying to inject into the system. With a thought, he began to unravel it, using techniques that were half mechanic's intuition and half royal training he didn't remember learning. Your Highness, a guard burst into the core chamber. The Obsidian forces have breached the outer defenses. Lord Onyx leads them personally. Through his connection to the courts, Raven could feel the invaders' presence, dark crystalline forms that absorbed light instead of emanating it. At their head was a towering figure whose very presence seemed to create discord in the quantum harmonics. Lord Onyx, Nyxvera spat the name like a curse. He never accepted that a human could carry royal patterns. He'll use this crisis to try to seize the throne. Raven's consciousness flickered between memories. He remembered Lord Onyx from before, remembered his barely concealed ambition, his hatred of change. But he also remembered facing down angry dock workers trying to scam him on engine parts, remembered that sometimes the best defense was a good bluff. He opened his eyes, keeping one hand pressed to the crystal matrix. Give me access to the court's communication systems. What are you planning? Nyxvera asked. Something either very clever or very stupid. Raven took a deep breath. Lord Onyx wants to prove I'm not really royalty. Let's put on a show. With a thought, he activated every crystal resonator in the palace. His voice echoed through the corridors, carried on waves of quantum energy. Attention, Lord Onyx and members of the Obsidian faction. This is Princess Stellavira. He felt the invaders pause in their advance, felt their confusion ripple through the quantum field. Or maybe I'm just Raven Blackwood, quantum mechanic, he continued. Here's the interesting thing about quantum mechanics. Until you make an observation, multiple states can exist simultaneously. Right now, I'm both your princess and a simple engineer. Want to come observe me directly and collapse that quantum waveform? Through the court sensors, he could see Lord Onyx's crystalline form vibrating with rage. This proves nothing. The human merely has access to our systems. Really? Raven let amusement color his voice. Then I suppose you wouldn't mind if I told everyone about that secret meeting you had with the Silicon Syndicate during the third year of the Obsidian War, the one where you offered to sell them royal quantum encryption codes. Lord Onyx's advance halted completely. Raven pressed his advantage. Interesting thing about quantum patterns, they carry memories, memories that only your princess would have. Should I share more of them? The quantum field rippled with uncertainty as Onyx's followers began to step back from their leader. You dare threaten me? Onyx roared. I protected our empire while you were lost in the void. No, Nyxvera's voice rang out as she stepped forward. You undermined our empire while pretending to protect it. Guards, arrest Lord Onyx for treason. The next few minutes were chaos as crystal clashed against crystal. But without their leader's confidence, the Obsidian forces quickly surrendered. Raven kept his hand pressed to the matrix, monitoring the quantum field for any further threats. That, Nyxvera said once order was restored, was either brilliant or insane. Why not both? Raven gave her a tired smile. Quantum superposition, remember. But as he finally pulled his hand away from the crystal matrix, something felt different. The memories that had surfaced during the connection weren't fading. They were integrating, quantum patterns slowly aligning into a new configuration that was neither fully Raven nor fully Stellavira. Something's happening, he whispered. The patterns, they're not overwriting each other there. Evolving, Nyxvera finished. Just as I thought, you're becoming something new, something that carries my sister's essence but remains uniquely yourself. Before Raven could respond, a warning pulse rippled through the quantum field. The crystal matrix behind him began to glow with an intense light. The core's quantum harmonics are destabilizing, a technician called out. The interface with an unauthorized consciousness has triggered a cascade reaction. Unauthorized? Raven laughed weakly. I thought we just proved I'm authorized. But even as he joked, he could feel it. The quantum patterns in his mind were shifting too quickly, threatening to tear reality apart at the seams. The last thing he saw before consciousness fled was Nyxvera's face, her crystalline features twisted with concern as she reached for him. Raven floated in a sea of quantum possibilities. Each memory was a thread of light, weaving together two lives that were never meant to intersect. He saw himself learning to repair engines in a dingy spaceport workshop, while simultaneously mastering the art of quantum harmonics in the crystal quartz. He remembered his first successful engine repair, and the first time he'd shaped crystalline matter with a thought. Wake up, Nyxvera's voice cut through the quantum haze. Please, we need you, both of you. His eyes opened to find himself in a crystal healing chamber. The walls pulsed with stabilizing energy, trying to hold his fragmenting consciousness together. Nyxvera stood nearby, her form dimmed with worry. How long? His voice came out rough, human vocal cords struggling with quantum harmonics. 3 days, she answered, the quantum cascade nearly. We almost lost you, both versions of you. Raven tried to sit up, but his body felt wrong, sometimes solid, sometimes crystalline, as if he couldn't quite decide which form to take. What's happening to me? The pattern integration accelerated beyond safe levels, a medical technician explained from nearby. Your consciousness is trying to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. It's unprecedented. Unprecedented, Raven echoed with a weak laugh. Story of my life, lives, whatever. He looked down at his hands, still human but occasionally flickering with crystalline light. Can you stabilize it? We're trying, Nix Vieira said, but there's more. While you were unconscious, we discovered something about the original accident that scattered my sister's pattern. She waved a hand, creating a holographic display of ancient records. It wasn't an accident at all. Lord Onyx didn't just conspire with the Silicon Syndicate during the war, he deliberately sabotaged the quantum containment fields around Stella Vera. He meant to scatter her consciousness beyond recovery. But it found me instead, Raven murmured. Random quantum entanglement across space and time, or maybe not so random. Before Nix Vera could respond, alarms blared through the healing chamber. The crystalline walls flickered with urgent patterns. My lady, a guard burst in. Lord Onyx has escaped custody. He's activated some kind of quantum device. It's creating interference patterns throughout the courts. Raven could feel it, discordant energy rippling through the quantum field, threatening to tear apart the delicate harmonies that held the crystal quartz together. And somewhere in the chaos, he sensed a familiar frequency. That's the same harmonic signature, he gasped. The one he used to scatter the original pattern. He's trying to finish what he started. He swung his legs off the healing platform, ignoring the way reality seemed to shimmer around him. I need to get to the core, now. You're barely stable, the medical technician protested. The quantum flux could tear your consciousness apart. It already is, Raven said, watching crystalline light dance across his skin. Might as well put it to good use. Nix Vera helped him stand. I'm coming with you. They made their way through corridors that wavered between solid crystal and quantum possibility. The closer they got to the core, the more Raven's dual nature manifested, memories and instincts from both lives flowing together until he wasn't sure which was which. They found Lord Onyx in the core chamber, his crystalline form twisted into something dark and wrong. A device in his hands pulsed with chaotic energy, sending waves of discord through the quantum field. Ah, the aberration returns, Onyx sneered. Come to be scattered again, your highness, or should I say mechanic. You know what your problem is, Onyx. Raven's voice resonated with both human determination and crystalline authority. You never understood what quantum mechanics actually means. I understand plenty, Onyx snarled, raising the device. I understand that some patterns should never be allowed to exist. The device discharged a wave of corrupted quantum energy. Raven felt his consciousness begin to fragment, splitting along probability lines. But this time, he didn't fight it. Sewer position, he gasped through the pain, taking a step forward. Multiple states existing simultaneously. Another blast hit him. Reality fractured around his body, showing glimpses of other possibilities, the mechanic he was, the princess he had been, and something new emerging from the combination. Wave function collapse, he continued, each word carrying harmonics that made the crystal walls sing. The act of observation determining reality. Onyx fired again and again, pouring chaos into the quantum field. But Raven kept walking forward, his form shifting between states with each step, and most importantly, he reached out with both human hands and crystalline will. Quantum entanglement. Reality twisted. The last thing Raven saw before consciousness shattered was Nix Vera's face, her expression caught between horror and hope as the quantum cascade consumed everything in blinding light. In the space between quantum states, Raven dreamed. He dreamed of engine rooms and crystal spires, of grease-stained hands and light-woven crowns. He dreamed of a consciousness scattered across space and time, seeking something it had lost, not trying to return to what it had been, but yearning to become something new. The patterns are stabilizing, a voice said from very far away. But this is impossible, the quantum signatures. Nothing is impossible, another voice answered, Nix Vera's voice, gentle but firm. Only improbable. Raven opened his eyes to find himself lying on the floor of the core chamber. The air sparkled with settling quantum energy, reality slowly knitting itself back together. Lord Onyx lay unconscious nearby, his corrupted device nothing more than inert crystal. But something was different. When Raven looked down at his hands, he saw human flesh traced with delicate lines of crystalline light, not shifting between states anymore, but existing in perfect quantum harmony. "Welcome back," Nixvira said softly, "both of you, all of you." Raven sat up carefully, marveling at how natural it felt to process both physical sensation and quantum resonance simultaneously. The integration, it's complete. A team of quantum specialists huddled around their instruments, making excited noises. "It's extraordinary," one announced. "The human consciousness and the royal pattern haven't just merged, they've evolved into an entirely new quantum structure. Stable, coherent, and still me," Raven finished. He stood up, feeling the quantum field respond to his presence like an old friend. "Both of me, all of me." "The medical records we recovered from Lord Onyx's files explain everything," another specialist added. "When the original pattern was scattered, it didn't randomly find a human host. It was drawn to a compatible quantum architecture, a human child born with natural resonance abilities. You, Raven Blackwood, were always meant to be part of this pattern." "And now," Raven looked at Nixvira, "what happens to a quantum mechanic who's also technically a princess?" She laughed, the sound like crystal wind chimes. "I believe that's up to you. The pattern recognition protocols now accept your unique signature as part of the royal line, but they also recognize that you're something new, something that could help bridge our peoples in ways we never imagined." Raven walked to the core interface, pressing his hand against it. The crystal matrix responded instantly, quantum energy flowing through the circuits like water. But now he understood it both ways, as a mechanic appreciating the engineering and as royalty feeling the pulse of his people. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "the human colonies out on the rim have been having trouble with their quantum engines. And the crystal courts could probably use someone who understands both sides of the technology." "Ambassador of quantum mechanics," Nixvira suggested with a smile, "or perhaps royal engineer." "Why choose?" Raven grinned, watching crystalline light dance across his skin. "Quantum superposition, remember, I can be both." The next few weeks passed in a blur of adaptation and innovation. Raven split his time between the crystal courts and the quantum engineering labs, helping to develop new technologies that combined human ingenuity with luminaire crystalline science. His unique perspective, part mechanic, part royalty, proved invaluable in bridging the gap between the two civilizations. Lord Onyx faced justice for his crimes, both past and present. But even there, Raven's influence led to change. Instead of traditional crystalline imprisonment, the former lord was sentenced to work on humanitarian engineering projects, using his knowledge to help others rather than harm them. "You've changed our society more in a few months than centuries of tradition," Nixvira remarked one evening, finding Raven in his favorite spot, a workshop overlooking the crystal spires, where he tinkered with hybrid quantum mechanical devices. "Not changed," he corrected, setting down his tools. "Evolved, just like the quantum patterns did." He held up his latest project, a crystalline quantum spanner that could repair both physical and energy matrices. "Sometimes the best way forward isn't going back to what was or staying what you are, it's becoming something entirely new." Nixvira's form brightened with approval. "And what will you become next, royal mechanic?" Raven looked out at the crystal courts, where human engineers now worked alongside luminaire quantum masters, each learning from the other. In the quantum field, he could feel the pulse of both civilizations beginning to harmonize, creating new patterns no one had dreamed possible. "I don't know," he admitted with a smile. "But for the first time in either of my lives, I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be." He picked up his tools again, human hands wrapped in crystalline light, and got back to work fixing engines, building bridges, and proving that sometimes the most beautiful patterns are the ones we never expected to find.